Hello.
Hi, everyone.
We are live here on Facebook for our second Truro Famous live chat. You've got Sam and Michelle here. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Sam. And Roxy's here too. She was here last week, but I think she might be more visible this week.
Not far. She's not far.
Yeah.
So last week we started doing these live chats. We've been talking about doing them for a while. We finally got it together. And we had a chat with Corey Bowles last week, which was great. He was in Toronto. And then this week we decided we would love to start chats with some of our winners of the Truro Famous Award that we started back in 2016.
Yeah.
Crazy, 4 years ago. And Sylvia Estey, who I'm pretty sure knows everybody in Truro, was our first winner. And I don't think any of us were surprised because she just literally knows everyone. We're going to chat with Sylvia a little bit about her history with Truro and really let her do the talking. So let's, without further ado, bring her on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
It's like we're in the neighborhood.
It is.
You're one's up the hill, one's down the hill. I'm in the middle. Very cool.
Oh yeah, we're all kind of in a little.
We are in the
We're
hood.
Young Street and Young Street adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thrilled to be here. This is wonderful, and it's just so cool to chat with the two of you.
Yeah, and so we just have to comment on the fact that we had an option to do this conversation at 1:30 or 5:30. And we chose 5:30 because Sylvia had a haircut at 3 o'clock. So we wanted her to be able to show off her haircut.
Yeah.
Did not have COVID hair, and we were like, let Sylvia not have COVID.
Man, oh man, it was I was due for a haircut like the 20-something of March. So it has been 4 months of very, very gray roots. And I'm really thrilled I'm just not ready for it. I'm 57, but I'm just not ready for all that gray. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased to be here at 5:30 with a brand new hairdo. Excellent. And I found glasses that I haven't worn in 6 months. And that's Maddie saying, love you. See you in a bit. Ding. So, it's everybody knows that I'm doing this. So I've got a note on my front door to not bug me till 6:30. So excellent. Because I'm having a bubble supper with Cindy and Michael and Maddie. So it's exciting. We're supporting a local restaurant. We're having Parashat Thai for the first time in a very long time.
Ooh.
Yeah, exciting. So yeah, supporting local is the most important thing that we can do right now. So
yeah, and when you say Cindy, of course, you're talking about Cindy Smith, who was your cohort in co-founding 100 Women Who Care 7 years ago?
2014.
6 years ago. Yeah. I was doing the math. I'm like, when did we have that?
I know. And that's how I met you, Michelle. Was
exactly.
Yeah. It just life has done a 360 on me since 2014. So it's a very long time ago, but it's only just a drop in the bucket in the big scheme of things. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have come as far as we all have in the last 6 years. And 100 Women Who Care is a big milestone for myself and for Cindy. It was a wonderful thing to implement in Truro, and it just does good in Colchester County. So there's no drawbacks to that whatsoever. So yeah.
And what was the other initiative, Sylvia? You guys just started last year.
We did the Before I Die Colchester. Before I Die was an art installation that was started in New Orleans by an artist who wanted to make a difference in the community where a lot of boarded up houses and buildings, retail space. And she designed this initiative, and it was just a stencil that they had a parent website that you could make inquiries and stuff on. And it's in like 80 countries around the world. And it's just bringing to the forefront, before I die, I want to ride in a hot air balloon or make amends with my mother or whatever it might be. It could be anything in the big scheme of things, but just starting to talk about death because it's part of life, as we all know. And some people are just afraid to talk about it. And it's just second nature to me now since Dave's illness and death. It's an easy thing to talk about for me, which a lot of people just don't understand at all. But Cindy Smith has instilled that in me in her initiatives and her knowledge and everything. I couldn't have done what I've done in the last few years without her by my side. And talking about death is a really tough thing for a lot of people. So we just wanted to make it a little bit more normal. So we had that art installation on the Truro Farmers Market lawn, and it was there for 6 months, I guess. And we got a lot of traction, and we actually donated it, and it went to Pictou, I believe, is where it's going to be. They actually came and got it. Michael built the installation for us, and it was able to be dismantled and traveled on a trailer and went over to the Pictou area. So it's going to be set up somewhere over there.
I didn't realize that. That's really great.
Yeah. There was no hard, fast guidelines on how it needed to be made come to life, but there was some suggestions, and we kind of brainstormed, and like we did with 100 Women Who Care, there was all kinds of different models throughout the world, and we just kind of poked around and did some research and figured out what suited our small town and made it work for us. So it was really interesting to have conversations with people on the lawn, little kids that wanted to write something, elderly people who were so pleased that it was kind of opening up the conversation, because a lot of people just don't want to go there and don't want to talk about it.
So very true.
Yeah,
it really is. And I think too, having an outlet to kind of start that conversation, I think is important, because even though, like you said, it is an important topic, I think there's more people that are comfortable talking about it that just don't really have that starting point.
Exactly. And it's opening up the conversation. And like you folks doing the Local Love Truro Totally fundraiser for hospice, it was near and dear to my heart, and was so pleased to be involved with that as a fundraiser for them, because the work they do is just so very important, because they've got a library and resources and counseling and all kinds of booklets and pamphlets and information on death and dying. And it's an important part of everybody's life to be able to know what somebody wants and know what somebody's wishes are. And it's something that we hope we can help people make a little bit more normal in their conversation with their family.
We were so pleased with the response to that fundraiser. It was so awesome.
It was.
That the artists were all super, like there was not a single hesitation from any of the artists to participate.
No.
And you never quite know when you're putting something out there like that, like, here's a tote bag, the prices start at $25. Like, okay, well, we'll make $250, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to buy a couple.
And then we had artists bidding on each other's totes, and I had Supper by Sylvia customers bidding against each other that knew each other, and one of them was the successful bidder of mine, and it was really engaging. It was a lot of fun to be in the inaugural tote bag auction. I presume it was a roaring success, and you'll do it again for either that fundraiser or some other nonprofit. You never know.
That's right. and jeepers, I can't even remember the total. I was just going to announce it.
$886.
Yeah.
I'm a numbers person. I don't know why. Couldn't do math to save my soul, but if you tell me a number 6 months down the road, I'll remember it. $886. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I was going to say under 900. So there you go.
That was safe. Good for you. Good for you. So, yeah. Isn't it
They
amazing?
were all so beautiful, and they were all so different from each other.
Yeah.
And
and what an engaging thing for you guys to come up with when we're in the middle of COVID-19. There's nothing we can do regarding social gatherings and the normal local Love Live show extravaganza that you've had in the past, and which you reinvent every time too, which is always so wonderful. But it was just such a wonderful, social media can be used for good and not necessarily just evil. So it's really nice when positive things come from social media.
And I find too, people were really, I think, hungry for good things.
Yep.
Because there was so much negativity, and every time, somebody would share the auction, it would make me happy just seeing everything.
Yeah.
Everything's so colorful and pretty and something positive, which I think was exactly what we wanted to do. Because when we were talking about doing it, Sam was like, we might as well do it. There's never going to be a good time this year.
That's right. That's right.
Just do it. And if something bad happens,
nothing bad happened.
No.
Sylvia, so we wanted to chat with you. You won the first Truro Famous Award back in 2016. So you're saying, oh no.
No, that was right. No. I'm shaking my head because in your intro you said nobody was surprised except for me. And you even like baited me into writing the acceptance speech, and I still had no idea. I assumed you had done that for Mitch and Lenore, and I had no clue. I was in a little bit of a fog at that point in time in my life, though. So I guess it was what I'm absolutely thrilled, and it was exactly what I needed in the spring of 2016.
Oh, yeah. And so we were really excited. A lot of the awards were business focused at the time, and we really wanted to put a fun award into the mix, and throwing in that Truro Famous, which is now the name of these little live chats that we're having too. Just have those conversations about people who locally are famous in their own right. So you are the perfect fit for that. And so now we want to pick your brain about all the things you know about Truro. So
all right.
Because as we've said, a lot of people.
Yeah. You've
also worked in a lot of places.
I have. Flashback. Are both of you? Did you grow up in Truro, Sam?
Yes.
Ponderosa Steakhouse. That's where my serving career started.
Oh my God.
Ponderosa Steakhouse with the little kerchief and the little aprons and the salad bar.
I love the salad bar because
I know
the choice of
the Jello that was cubed, that was very 70s. So I was I started my serving career and I didn't intend on having a serving career, but I worked at Ponderosa Steakhouse in high school, and I worked a very brief stint at Ryan's IGA snack bar, and that was not for me. But I did learn how to cut and wrap sandwiches for display when you flip them so that the filling is facing out of the plastic wrap and they're triangles. Do you know what I mean? That's how all of Madison and Alex's sandwiches in school in their lunch were wrapped like that, because that's the only way I can wrap a sandwich. So that's kind of a throwback to the snack bar with the 10-cent cup of coffee. So that was the beginning of my serving career.
So just to interrupt quickly, there's also a Sunday bar. Heather is saying,
yes, Sunday bar. Yep. You have to make your own Sunday.
I don't remember the Sunday bar.
It was. It wasn't at the beginning. but because there was desserty kind of stuff in the salad bar when I first started. So there was the same containers that were used for the lettuce and the olives and the hot peppers and the tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. They also had, I think, Jello and different things in the salad bar, and then the sundae bar, which was the soft serve. You could do the toppings and everything. So yeah, that was a little bit not right at the beginning when I worked there, but it was very famous. So yeah. And then I worked at the old Greco, which was one of the first. It was Grinner's Food Systems bought the chain of Grecos, and they happened to be a Truro, of course, a Truro company, Bill Hay. And I worked in my late teens, early 20s at the Greco, which is where the Tim Hortons on Roby Street, right beside the KFC is. And then I worked, I took a couple of years off. I was in retail sales at Sky Office Equipment, which is where they tore down the building to build the second apartment buildings right there where the junior high was in downtown Truro. It's a big hole right now, but that was the Sky Office Equipment building. And then I had babies. And then I worked at the Wooden Hog, which is the current location of the Nook and Cranny. I wanted to get back into serving. I knew I loved it. And I pretty much stalked Marlene Krillman until she gave me a job. I was in there when they were constructing it. So I was the very first barista in Truro. I was the very first person to learn how to use an espresso machine and properly make cappuccinos, espressos, lattes, all that steamed milk, all that kind of stuff. And that was, it was the place to be on a Friday night in downtown Truro when you were a kid. And that's where I was going through separation and divorce while I was working part-time there. And that's where I met Dave, or rekindled a friendship with Dave. And he used to come in and sit at the bar and drink too much coffee and smoke too many cigarettes outside. And in the evenings when the place was filled with teenagers, he'd say, you need to have like a height restriction, like Space Mountain or something. You shouldn't let these little teeny ones in here at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And they'd all come in groups, and like 10 kids would order one Italian soda with 10 straws. And fill the place up. And then I was in need of
you after the Wooden Hog, sorry, because I loved the Wooden Hog when I was in high school. It was like you're saying, the best place to go. I miss it. Like I wish that there was, and I feel like, you know, there's other places that have come and that kind of Jamali's and Novelty are
that was the first place with espresso, the first place with Italian sodas.
The Italian sodas are the best.
Yeah, it was just so cool. And that's where I actually was introduced. That's where I first met Cindy, because her daughter, Emily, who is now turning 40, was a 16-year-old. And I trained Emily to be a server, working behind the counter at the Wooden Hog as a part-time server. So that's where
I'm about to tell you my age, because I went to school with Emily.
Oh, okay. So are you
will be turning 40. And I remember Emily working there. Yeah. We went to school together.
Yeah, so I was the old girl. Everybody else was young, and I wasn't. And then I needed full-time work because I had divorced, and Frank and Gino's opened, and I was original staff at Frank and Gino's. And I needed to work daytime. Everybody else wanted to work evenings because it was the cool place then. First place that was like an East Side Mario's kind of atmosphere. And everybody wanted to make $1 million and serve at night and sling the drinks and have the party atmosphere and everything. And I did the 10 to 4 shift and did the training for them. So everybody who was brand new would come and shadow me, and I would teach them how to set a table and how to interact with customers and how to tactfully quiet down a child that was disrupting another table and that kind of stuff. And I was like the den mother, and I was there for 7 years.
Wow.
And I enjoyed every minute of it. I really, really enjoyed it. And then I did a very brief stint at Murphy's Fish and Chips, which was an institution in Truro, not fine dining, not nearly as much fun, but it taught me lots of life lessons. And then I went to Kalina Dea, which was the little restaurant tucked in behind the superstore, or behind McCory's, where the Ella's Jamaican Food is right now. And it was kind of tucked out of the way, but it, again, very innovative, very new wave food and things, polenta and roasted pepper sauce on chicken breasts, and the first paninis, I think, in town. And Maureen that owned that had lived in Toronto for a number of years, and so she brought a lot of innovative stuff to this small town. And I worked there for 4 years, I believe. And then I went to Bistro 22 on Inglis Place, and worked there from 2010 to 2013. Then I worked with Dave's company for Xerox, his agency, because he needed an assistant, and I was it. And then after Dave's passing, I went back to Bistro 22 for a second go round. And that would have been spring of 2016 when I won the Local Love Truro Award. That would have been about the same time that I was going back to work part-time. And I worked there until I started my Supper by Sylvia and being a farmer's market vendor. And that's my new gig.
That's awesome. And I totally forgot about Kalina Dea.
Yeah.
I used to really like it there.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I really, really enjoyed the atmosphere, and the Manny, Shahed Sarwar is his real name, but we called him Manny. He was from Bangladesh and had immigrated to Canada, was in Montreal and Ottawa, and then ended up following a girl to Truro, and that's how he ended up here. He was a very talented chef, little hot-headed, but a lot of fun. And he did things that nobody else had done in Truro. So we had a real following there. It was a lot of fun. We did a lot of interesting dinners, pharmaceutical dinners. Pharmaceutical companies would entertain doctors because we had space out front, because we had the whole space right out to Prince Street. And it was a really neat place to work. Did wedding receptions and parties and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And so we're going back on a couple comments here, because Tara, I'm assuming Tara Campbell, you're talking about Ponderosa. Was there all you could eat shrimp at Ponderosa?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I blocked a lot of the Ponderosa memories.
Tara knows her food, I tell you.
That's awesome. And then Heather has a question for you.
Okay.
Heather Clark. So what's your secret to quieting bratty kids in restaurants? She says, mine are good, but she can't stand bad kids in restaurants. Good question.
Actually, when they had career day kind of thing at elementary schools, I went to my children's classes when they were at Douglas Street School. And I would talk to the kids like they were adults, because they're just short people that need to be talked to. They're real people. They're not children. I mean, they're children, but they can be reasoned with. And I would say to them, when your mommy and daddy take you out to supper, they are spending money that it costs money to go out to a restaurant compared to eating at home. But the people that are over there in that booth right there, they might be coming out for a special dinner, or they might have their Grammy with them or whatever. So it's your job as a customer in a restaurant to listen to mommy and daddy, and to color when they give you something to play with, or to maybe play a game of I Spy or that sort of thing, because being in a restaurant is learning how to be in public and be a well-behaved individual. And my boss, Frank and Gino, said, "Can you go to every elementary school that takes this?" So I would just talk to kids and tell them that they needed to, the most important, the people who love them the most were the mommy and daddy that were sitting with them in the booth, and they needed to keep their voice down and be respectful of the people around them. And I just talked to them like real people. Yeah.
I think that's so important because they feel that importance if you're talking like an adult.
When I would serve kids and they would be 14 and they would go, "Can you ask her if they have Pepsi or Coke?" And I would say, "Oh, what flavor soft drink are you looking for? What's your favorite, Mountain Dew or whatever?" And they would have to engage with me. Kids aren't taught how to be in public sometimes, and you need to instill in them that they need to be respectful and they need to be able to say, "Excuse me, do you have Coke or Pepsi products?" or whatever the question might be. And I think if you showed them respect, that they will very quickly learn that they need to be respectful of the surroundings that they're in. And it was just how I did things. I didn't lecture anybody. I was just a mom who knew how to have kids listen a little bit better. I don't know if that helps Heather or not, but
Heather's going around doing little lecture circuits when
exactly. They're just short people. They really are. Like, they're just short people.
So you're also an artist, which we
I am.
before. Have you always been an artist, Sylvia?
Nope, not at all. I was artistic when I was a kid, but I never ever explored it at all. I didn't have any opportunities to take any art classes or anything like that. But I always jumped in and took the opportunity to help nieces and nephews with lettering on posters for science fairs, and really wanted to make it as neat as possible. And I didn't rip the markers out of their hands, but I really wanted to have a little bit of control when I helped them because I wanted it to look presentable. And when my mom was ill, my father died in 2001, and my mom died 4 months later. And when she was in the hospital, she went downhill very quickly. She was 83. She was quite late in life when she had me. So my dad died in September, and my mom was in the hospital, and I took a watercolor class. And that was the first time so I was 38. The very first time I really picked up a paintbrush. And it was a very relaxed instruction teacher that instructed through continuing education. She was a retired nurse. And she just kind of taught us some fundamentals, shadowing and wet on wet and wet on dry and that kind of stuff, things that if you're a watercolor painter, you learn these things. And I just kind of jumped in and did my own thing. And a big part of the direction that I went was I was a busy young mom, and I wanted small, quick projects that I could do. So I started doing bookmarks because I could, from start to finish, do it in 20 minutes. And it ended up becoming something that was a viable product. And I sold some, and I did farmers markets and art little symposiums and that kind of stuff, and just kind of painted fun, happy things that made me smile, mostly flowers, mostly kind of folk arty kind of stuff. No rules, just jumped in, put pen to paper. And it was about 5 years ago that I actually said, I think I'm an artist. And I was able to say it out loud. And up until then, I just kind of dabbled and I don't follow any rules. I just paint what makes me happy. So yeah, I never did it for anybody but my own pleasure. But it started when my mom was in the hospital, and each week when we did an exercise, I'd come and tape it to the wall in her hospital room, and the nurses would say, "You can't put tape on that wall." And I said, "Yeah, I can, because I'll come in and paint the wall if I have to at the end of this." And I,
They at the Truro Hospital,
and
you could put
exactly,
tape
it was
on
the old hospital, for God's sake.
pink walls.
So I put the things up on the wall each week, and it was one of the few things that my mother looked forward to every week. She was only in the hospital for 6 weeks, and then she went into a long-term care facility, and she only lasted about another 6 weeks after that. But it brought her some joy, and that's where it started. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that you said you don't play by the rules. Like, and I think that's what a lot of art, I personally think that's what art should be, is that it's just your own personal expression without thinking about the rules.
The first time I experienced art battle, it would have been 2013, I think, maybe 2012. And
is that
Grace,
where we met, Sylvia?
is that maybe? Yes. Was it at the
Holiday Inn?
no, I was at one previous to that. That was at what became Bubba Ray's. I forget what it was called. It was the little
Split Crow?
Yeah, maybe. Yes, in there. And it was Lynn Thornton, Grace Sims, and Danielle Sawada who did the first art battle in Truro. And I went and saw it and thought, it made my heart pound. And I was like, oh my God, I'd love to do this. And I had never painted with acrylic paints on a canvas before. And I stood and I watched it, and it just made my heart pound. And it was so exhilarating. And I said to Grace Sims, we were just kind of standing with our heads together watching somebody paint. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And she said, Sylvia, there's no rules. Just get a canvas and get some acrylic paints. Do what you want. Make it sloppy with water, put it on really thick, draw first, do whatever you want. And I jumped in and started to paint acrylic canvases, big flowers, happy flowers, wildflowers, whatever flowers I wanted. And that's mostly what I did. And I was in the next art battle. And that was at the Rustlers Cafe. Rustlers, whatever it is, upstairs there, above Molly's. Oh my God, it was the coolest. It was the most exciting thing I did in 2013, I think. I think it was September 2013. It was so
that would be the best venue for that, I think.
Oh, yeah. I have a photo of that Jody O'Brien was a high school teacher at CEC, and he's a photographer, and he's really good at it. And he was up above us looking down, and you can see the 4 canvases, and it's kind of enhanced. I mean, everybody enhances photo except for me. I don't know how to do it, but kind of made the turquoise, of course. Turquoise is what I love. He made it pop, and it is just the most incredible photo. And I'm in flip-flops and a tank top and just grooving to the tunes and painting wildflowers. And I didn't win, but I had the best time, I tell you. It was incredible. And then we did another one a couple years later, maybe the next year, at the rec center, and it was art battle day across Canada, and there was like 20 different art battles, I believe, across Canada, and I made it to the semifinals in that one. And it was with people who had all kind of achieved a win at a local art battle that we all painted. It was so much fun, and I've made friendships through that I've still have to this day. Melanie Morrissey and Rob McIntosh and Danielle and Lynn and Grace and all those people. I really didn't know many of them before that. So, yeah.
So what is the key to you knowing all of these people? I feel like you being that person that everybody knows, the key is having been in the service industry for one.
And I would talk to a stump. So I talk to anybody. I talk to little kids in the park. I talk to little old ladies in the checkout line. I talk to somebody at the crosswalk. Doesn't matter where I am. I got to talk to people. I'm 57, and other than the 2000, the 7 years I spent in Greenfield, which I drove into Truro every day. I never really left it. That's the only time I've ever not lived in the town of Truro. So I guess I know people because I've lived nowhere else. I'm pretty biased towards Truro. I can't imagine living anywhere else. I really can't. Living out of town was a huge step, but I was 7 minutes from the downtown Sobeys, so I wasn't very far. I was in the county. I was in Colchester County, so that was fine. I guess because I just will talk to anybody, if anybody will listen. But you know what? I go to events, and there are times that I think, how can I be in Truro and not know any of these people? There are times that I truly don't know anybody when I go to an event. I can remember the first International Women's Day that I went to at the Holiday Inn when we were promoting. I almost said Keddies. I did almost say Keddies. I went with a little brochure saying we have this wonderful, awful idea and we're thinking about doing 100 women. I, honest to God, I felt like a wallflower. I stood back and I talked to people because I had a mission, but I didn't know most of the people in the room. And it surprises me each time. The very first time I went to a women's social network, it was in the Ginger House, and it was the women's...
the Central Nova Women's Resource Center.
I walked in, I walked through the dining room area on the right, I walked out the hall and out the front door.
What?
Didn't know a soul. Didn't know anybody well enough to say, hi, can I stand with you? Didn't know anybody. Saw people that I now know were Alana and you and Susan Sharpeggy and all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Didn't know any of them personally at all. And walked in and around and back out.
So my goal now is to figure out how the heck we met, because I can't remember. And now that you're saying you didn't know me then, I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know how we met.
I knew who you were, but I didn't know you well enough to come up and say, hi, Sam. Right. I don't know anybody else here. I'm going to stand and talk to you.
Right.
So you can live in Truro your entire life like me, and there still be people that you haven't got a sweet clue who they are. But I do feel like I know all of the right people.
I like that. Hey, is that your quote?
Oh, maybe that's my quote. Maybe that's my quote. That might be it. So,
all of the right people.
Truro is
sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you lead.
We did a couple of shout outs. I feel like we should shout out to your hairdresser, number one.
Irene Bowers. Tim Bowers, the wonderful vocalist who frequents the Nook and Cranny and places like that, his wife, Irene.
Oh, I did not know that his wife was a hairdresser.
Yeah, it has been since she was like 18.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now she gets to relearn how to do it all.
Doesn't she? Yeah. It went very smoothly. I was one of her guinea pigs. This is day 2. So I was really pleased to be one of the people that she reached out to, because she knew how easygoing I was and that I could go in and do this with no, like, if things don't go smoothly, I roll with the punches. So
yeah.
So Jess, if you're watching, I will be one of your guinea pigs. Okay. That's my hairdresser at Intrinsic Spa.
Irene is at Characters Hair Design on Prince Street.
Oh, nice.
And she's not on social media. So I had to get my cell phone number to her through a friend who I know through Studio Fit, who I know sees Irene socially, because that was the only way I was going to get in. So it was social media who got me this haircut.
I think we need we should do like a 6 degree of separation from Sylvia. That should be like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that it's really cool.
The friend of the friend of the friend.
Yeah. That's that. See, 2 degrees of separation, and I got my COVID hair looked after. That's all I needed. One person I knew Irene. That's all I needed.
Kevin Bacon of Truro, Sylvia, but do
That's
you know?
right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like it.
You haven't seen a lot of movies. So
No, I have not. Did I see Footloose? Maybe. Parts of it. I don't know if I've seen the entire thing. I don't know. I don't care.
Little known fact about me, I was in a production of Footloose at the St. Matthew's Church in Halifax. So if you ever need somebody to recite every single word, Sylvia,
Okay.
you can find me.
Dave was in a Tragically Hip video in Halifax, but he never ever managed to see it. But people said, I watched such and such a Tragically Hip video that was filmed at the Palace or something. Dave,
what video?
I don't know. I didn't even know the Tragically Hip's music.
Okay,
Honest to God, I am a horrible Canadian. Something was filmed.
She needs to tell us.
No, she's not. She doesn't know the Tragically Hip either. No, we were schooled by Dave Estey on everything that was ever produced pre-1975. So everything that we listened to at home was Bob Dylan, Bob Marley, Buffalo Springfield, Neil Young,
Band.
Santana, the band, yes, the band. We Sam Cooke, all of the Motown stuff. That's what my kids know inside and out. They've all expanded their musical horizons. Me, not so much. I listen to what is on CBC and what people play, and I couldn't name 10 songs right now that I suck. I suck at music. I really do. I can't even play the song.
You are great at telling kids how to behave in restaurants.
There we go. That's my selling point. Yes. Yeah. That's my claim to fame.
So I wanted to do a second shout out just because before we got on live, we were talking about the beautiful painting behind your head.
Ah, yeah.
I want to do a shout out to Jason Fox. That painting is gorgeous.
And my mantle is from Phillips and Chestnut. No, it's wooden, and it is from the Lewis Hat Factory, which was in the building where the U-Haul is now. I needed it because it was historical Truro. And my bottles up there, which are there behind my head, have I have a bottle from out in my backyard that's from the 1920s that was buried on this property that I bought. It's a little liniment bottle, and one is from the Hamilton Coffee and Spice Company, which I guess they made baking powder, I've discovered since I Googled it. And I've got historic beams on the front of my brand new house, and the square head nails are in one of the bottles up there. And I have 4 pieces of coal from my backyard because it was a coal-fired furnace in the house that was on this property owned by the Colburns in the 1940s. So I love Truro and its history. So I surrounded it in my house. Yeah. So Jason Fox.
Something needs to do a historical tour. Okay. Of Truro. You know, in terms of, because we know all the houses and we have our favorite houses and our favorite and that kind of thing, but you don't know the history behind them. But
yeah, exactly.
Jane was doing that with her Truro real estate.
Yes, I enjoyed that so much. And Melanie Grant was doing little vignette thingies on some of the historic houses. I know she's busy at NSCC teaching and that kind of stuff now, but I really, really am intrigued by the history of Truro. I'm attempting to get a photo of the house that stood on this property before I built, because I have somebody building a fence for me who is Jim McCready, who worked for the town for 30 years and built Jacob's Ladder. So I'm getting a fence built that's going to withstand withstand time, that's for sure. I'd love to walk the Victoria Park with him and find out the history, because he knows it inside and out. So
I've done that tour with Jim when we had Nova Scotia Music Week here, and he's just a fountain of knowledge. And I need to share this small town moment with you guys, because I was driving by your house yesterday.
Yep.
I saw Jim McCready standing outside your house. And I was like, when I get home, I need to text Sylvia and ask her why Jim McCready's at our house. What is he doing? Like, what work are they working on? And then I forgot.
He's building me my fence.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Small town moment.
Oh my God. I couldn't have anybody any better. It's going to be, will withstand a hurricane, I'm sure.
He's amazing.
Yeah, because the park is just such a jewel that we have, and it's our backyard now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your backyard, my backyard.
Yeah.
The best thing about Jim McCready, when we were doing that tour with Nova Scotia Music Week, is at the end of the tour, we ended at the gazebo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember what the name of the gazebo is off the top of my head. He would know, of course.
Yeah.
He took out his harmonica and he sat in the middle of the gazebo and started playing. And of course, all these musicians from all over the world were standing there watching. A couple of them got video and put it on their Instagram. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? He's the one who did the Humboldt tribute, played Amazing Grace solo down at the Legion Stadium. That's just, and Jim's not on social media either, so I'll tell him we talked about him. But yeah, I'm really lucky to have resources where I can just talk to him. He's my neighbor. He lives in Sunset Court, so I mean, it's just people help people in our sweet little small town. So it's wonderful.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle, you want to end with our question?
Oh,
the what's your favorite? Was that what? Like what?
What, pa?
My brain just broke on Facebook Live. When we talked to Corey, of course, we asked him, like, when he's coming home, what does he think about? What can't he not, wait to get to? He didn't say donaires, which is a good thing. I was expecting the donaire, like going to Damascus thing. But you're here all the time. So now that everything's kind of in reopening state, where are you? Where was besides the hairdresser, where was the first place you kind of made sure to go? Or
we went in the pouring rain the day that Victoria Park opened.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It could have been a hurricane, and I still would have walked in Victoria Park the first day we were allowed. Yeah. I just can't imagine my life without that park.
Yeah.
It's so green and it's so lush and it's so well maintained and it is so accessible now. There's a new video out. I'll share it again on my Facebook that a young couple from HRM, I believe, he's in a wheelchair and she's able, and they were just so impressed with so much of it. My nephew came and visited a couple of weeks ago with his caregiver. He has cerebral palsy. He's ASD. I'll do a shout out for him. And he got to visit the park because it's our jewel. It really is. Yeah. And it's just absolutely, it's the first place I wanted to go the day that it opened. I go every day, almost every day. Almost every day. Yeah.
It's so great to have it.
That's why.
I missed that.
We just did it because we were both talking at the same time.
We talked about this, ladies.
Yeah. I just said it is your backyard. You're there every day. You make use of it, especially now that you're back in the neighborhood. And
Exactly. I'm so thrilled. So thrilled. My postal code growing up on Pleasant Street was B2N3S7, and my postal code here is B2N3X7.
Oh, wow.
And I said it's X for Xerox because I wouldn't have gotten here without Dave. And we packed 32 years in our 16 years together. And here I am living my new little solo dream back in my little heart of a town. I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Sylvia. And knowing now more about Dave's musical interests, I really even more so wish I had known him because I think we would have been two peas in a pod.
When Madison was a little girl, he convinced her that someday she'd have twins and she was either going to name them Bob and Marley or Bob and Dylan. She agreed at the time. And he trained her to answer the phone and say, Dave's not here, man. He went to get the stuff. She didn't know what she was quoting. But she did it when she was like 9 or 10. Dave's not here, man. He went to get the stuff. And now she knows it inside and out and can recite it verbatim when people are sitting beside her having like in the olden days when you used to be able to sit around and watch a movie together and have friends over. If you watch Cheech and Chong, she knew it all by heart. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, it was a fun house to grow up in. We had a lot of laughter. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of good music.
So we missed a couple of comments. Heather says, can Sylvia be all of our moms?
Oh, yes, I can. Addison says I am. I'm a mom to everybody. I can't help myself. It's my genetic makeup. I am the mom of Truro, I guess.
There's your title. Sonia Parks said hi a long time ago. Sorry to miss your hello.
Sonia. Yeah. Oh, we went to school.
And Tara says your art battle was inspiring and she was super proud of you.
Oh, it was so wonderful. I look at this photo that I have and I blew it up to like a 11 by 14 because I loved it that much, that Jody O'Brien that I mentioned earlier. And I can see friends in the photo and I know that Tara was right behind me, and it was just, it was other than rappelling off of 1801 Hollis Street, which I did in 2014. It was, and that was about 5 minutes of absolutely heart-pounding exhilaration. Art Battle was 20 minutes long, and I have never enjoyed a little snippet of time more than Art Battle. It was incredible. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And the 1801 Hollis, which was a fundraiser for Easter seals, Madison and I rappelled 23 stories, 385 feet. And she did it the day before her 20th birthday, I believe. We fundraised $4,000 for Easter seals for Camp Tignish, where my nephew attended camp as a cerebral palsy kid and felt normal for a week. And it was one of the most wonderful things that I've done. And 100 Women Who Care. And Before I Die, Colchester. Those are my accomplishments in Truro.
That's awesome. That's a lot. You know that, right?
Yeah. I got more stuff up my sleeve.
Of course you do.
I'm not done yet.
We can't wait. So thank you for joining us on our second chat ever. Yeah. If you're just joining us now, this will be on our page, and so you can watch it back and hear the history of Truro through Sylvia's eyes. And we are working on other videos of Truro famous folks, other chats that we're going to have. So stay tuned for all of that. Sylvia, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It was just like sitting in my living room talking to you guys.
Yeah, great. And yeah, we'll be hearing from you soon.
Okay.
We hope.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.